You've misunderstood. Nobody was complaining about your hind end. They were complaining about you being a hind end. You got your hind end positioned correctly this time. Welcome back to the Go Bros. I'm Frog.
I'm Bird.
And this week we have a special guest. It's Hank. We're looking to settle an argument that we have. Which vehicle is better? Is it the 47 Pontiac behind us? Is it the 47 Chevy to the side of us? Or is it the old 35 Goat?
We kind of got our own ideas, but we're going to see what happens.
It's never quite that cut and dry.
Join us as we make the debate and you decide for yourself. So the first one we're going to look at today is this old Pontiac. Bird, what's the dealio with the Pontiac?
Well, remember we showed it earlier, bringing it to life. So now we're going to just talk a little bit about what it is.
So it's a 1947 Pontiac Streamliner.
Yep.
And while they're opening the hood, we'll take a side profile shot here. And the Streamliner, you can see where it got its name. It's got this long body and this torpedo looking back end. I will say that the two doors, I think they called those a torpedo.
Streamlined for a 4-door.
Yeah.
As we know, this one is a Flathead 8. Okay. Hank, what's the displacement on this thing?
Let me ring that up. Let's see. It's 248 cubic inches, 4.1 liters.
This one's a monster.
That's pretty good size
For that day and time.
Yeah.
Especially for a straight one.
Oh, especially
And
for
a
a
flathead?
side valve, yeah.
And side valve Flathead. Yep, there it is. But
Yeah.
so yeah, this was quite the ride back in its day. So
And when you look at the architecture of the intake and exhaust, it's amazing they made any power at all. The cam's on this side, isn't it? So that's not so bad there. But anyway, they snake this stuff around. There's no way this stuff can make that trail and have any chance at breathing.
no, there wasn't all. It wasn't.
These
about
are
the
low RPM
performance.
engines.
It was all about just a little bit of torque.
A little bit of
away
torque.
go.
And torque, I would say this one probably made 120 pound-feet, coming about 90 horsepower.
Well, I think this engine is my favorite. Now, it's
For
not,
looks.
Yeah, for looks.
I'll tell you
Because
what.
specifically because it makes the long front end on the vehicle, and it's
that's
just
what's
interesting.
cool.
Big
Right.
long flat head
We
on
love
it.
that big old long front end on it.
We need to fire them up side by side, and we'll do that. And let's listen. Let's hear how they sound.
Let's see if our listeners or viewers can really detect the difference.
Yeah, can you tell the difference between a straight Flathead 8 or a V, or as our dad always called it, the forked 8?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
can
I
do
can
that.
see that they will be slightly different because that is a flat plane crank, and that wasn't for performance. That was for cost.
Talking about the sound, there is
That is.
nothing. There's
Right.
nothing that sounds as good
Right.
as a forked 8 with, as they called it back in the day, a 3/4 racing cam in it. They just had
Yeah.
they had
Well,
a
that's
bump to them
true.
that is just beautiful.
That's true.
So they had juice brakes by this time. So these have hydraulic brakes, and they came factory with hydraulic brakes, both of them. This 47 Chevrolet and this 47 Pontiac, basically identical in the brake systems.
Is it a split system? What is it?
No, it's one thrower, master, one line going to the front and rear. You know, you watch the old cars and the old movies, always make a nosedive every time you hit the brakes. That's why. That's why.
Well, that's why there are so many of these cars rolled off into Salt
man.
River Canyon.
Terrible.
Those brakes without the split system, if you
No.
lose half, you lose the
Oh,
whole
you don't
thing.
have any brakes.
You're
You don't have
done.
None.
Heat
Nope.
them up, you're done.
Nope. And compared with the Goat over here, it originally came with cable operated brakes. Okay. In other words, when you pushed the pedal, it pulled cables that went to the brake system. That is crazy.
Under there.
Yeah, it's still there because our father, when he found a donor, and he found a donor vehicle, he went and there was a crashed one that went down the canyon. I don't know, it was a 40, 41.
Probably
whatever
wasn't
it
because
was.
of the brakes. Probably because it didn't have a seatbelt.
Well, that was the other part of it. They pulled the engine and the steering and the brakes out of that one down the canyon. So I'm not sure which engine is in here right now. It might be that one. I don't know. We'll have to go show our viewers where that happened at or where they got that at.
Yeah,
Because that was quite a feat just to take care of that, get that out of that canyon.
yeah. I've seen some
amazing.
cars still laying down that
They're
canyon.
still there.
It may be the same one. Who knows?
Flow is just a figure of speed.
There we go. So see, now there's fuel in there.
Okay, so bypassing the fuel pump, which is dead,
Yep.
Yeah.
going to the 1 gallon can.
Using gravity to deliver the fuel.
You're bypassing the ignition switch also?
Yep. Ready?
Okay, I'll be the fuel injector dude.
You're going to be that dude?
Uh-huh.
You sure?
I want to
Man,
see what Bird's
I
touching
spent
down
most of
here.
my early teen years this way.
Are we clear? Oh, you know what, Hank?
We don't have the...
No, you didn't finish hooking up the starter. See? See, that's my
Oh, the
ignition.
hot wire.
No sparky, no grindy.
Okay,
Yeah,
that'll
you
be
forgot.
we were just priming it.
Oh, okay. See, now watch this.
Yeah.
The power pump doesn't work very well.
Now see what it sounds like on the back.
Okay.
That's not a bad exhaust tone when you consider that's all on one manifold and one pipe.
Well, it's hardly even a pipe. It's more like a straw. Well, Bird, how does this compare to the goat?
Well, same number of cylinders.
So that's the straight 8. Let's take a look at the forked 8 now and see how they compare.
Here is two flatheads.
Mm-hmm.
They're both 8 cylinders.
Right.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do this one.
Bird,
So,
what's with you and these skeletons you put all around? I
well,
mean,
you know, we got to have operators.
Yeah,
So, you know.
it's a family tradition.
There you go.
no, it's not, actually.
Well, let's just put it this way. Most people that knew about these cars and drove these cars look just like that.
So we got the flat 8 here. You got to be specific. It's a forked 8. It's
Forked
not a
8,
flat
there
8
you go.
because we
So,
just looked at
okay.
a flat 8.
Well, let's talk about this real quick too. You know, displacement of these two. These are both 8 cylinders, right?
Yeah. This is 3.6 liters, isn't it?
I guess if you want to talk
Or
liters.
3.7, something like that.
Who talks liters?
Everybody but us.
Well, everybody needs the
Being
change.
U.S. But okay, so this is 248 cubic inches,
Yep.
and this is 221 cubic inches.
21.
So it wasn't a very big V8 to begin with,
No,
which is a good thing because the induction system wouldn't support anything bigger anyhow.
nope, that's all it would barely do. Look at that
You put a
carburetor.
blower on it and it barely notices it.
Well, it's an 8-cylinder lawnmower.
Yeah, there you go. It's like 8 Briggs and Strattons on a common crank.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we talked about some of the upgrades on the goat. Remember the goat's a 1935 Ford sedan that our father modified. First thing he did was cut the top
Cut the
off
top
and threw
off.
it to the side, and he did that because he needed a truck. And so he wasn't trying to do anything fancy, but he was the
Nope.
original rat rod, I'll just say that.
Didn't he
Well-
do that with a hammer and a chisel and a hatchet?
Yes.
That's it.
He needed a pickup.
Yep, that's what he needed, so that's why he did it. Do you think it'd still be around if it was left as a sedan?
Yeah, if it was left original,
No,
Yeah.
somebody would have wanted it.
he would have sold it.
He had let it go a long time ago. Nobody wanted this.
Dad was rat rod when rat rod wasn't cool.
Wasn't even cool then. You're right. It's got a truck 4-speed in it because he needed the
Oh,
gears.
that's the other thing. So
Yeah,
it
it's got
actually
the
has a
granny in
granny.
it. Okay,
All
that
right,
makes
we're going to
sense.
compare the straight 8 to the forked 8.
You ready?
Mm-hmm. Hey, it already wins.
Well, it definitely sounds better.
Yeah.
Rev it up, old bird. There is no contest. The forked
Well,
8 wins.
yeah,
The
and
straight 8 just sounds, I'm sorry, it sounds anemic.
This crankshaft is configured as a flat,
Flat, yeah.
plain crankshaft. And that means it has the same throw. In other words, they're 180 out, like a 4-cylinder.
Exactly like a 4-cylinder.
That's what makes it flat plane. Instead of like this one, they fire every 90 degrees.
right.
Ford made it that way because it was a lot cheaper and simpler to forge.
Ford came out with the Forked 8 in 1932.
Mm-hmm.
All the V8s prior to this one all had updraft carburetors
And overhead valves.
and that's strange.
But they were very expensive to build.
very expensive.
So Ford was building
There
a
you
V8 for the masses.
Yep.
And John Dillinger is noted for having sent Ford a letter saying, "Thank you very much. Your car is the one I love to steal."
That's right.
I was paraphrasing. Yeah.
What was the biggest competitor to the Forked 8? The Flathead 8.
Now we're talking, because now you're getting back to the Ford Chevy controversy.
There's where it came.
You know, where does it start? Well, it starts with this engine pitted against that. Not a nice big torquey inline 8.
Nope.
But state of the art overhead valve. From a packaging standpoint, this thing's genius. Look at this. You remember?
You kidding?
That fills the engine compartment. This thing here is just, it's almost embarrassing.
Well, you know, the Pontiac,
simple and straightforward.
right there, and the Chevrolet.
Yeah.
Same year. These two cars are the same years.
Yeah. Well, you notice the front end's shorter on this car because
That's right.
the
Look at the little
inline 6
engine.
is shorter than that long. That's a long engine.
Uh-huh.
Now, there is a downside to a long engine as to a V engine, and that is that longer crank does tend to have some second order vibrations that can be destructive. Probably the best configuration of an inline engine for durability and power is the
Right
inline
here.
6.
They call this the Stovebolt, by the way. So we're comparing the Stovebolt 6 to a Flathead 8.
Yeah. So why would this be even competitive with that V8? This is 216 cubic inches. That was 221. It's got 5 more cubic inches.
Bigger.
Does it
It's
make
got more cylinders.
Does it make more torque? Down at low RPM, probably. When this thing first came out in the 20s, probably had a higher compression ratio.
Oh, I'm sure. Those say the Flatheads didn't have
The only way to get a higher compression ratio out of those was to really pinch off the inlet and exhaust port.
Yeah.
So here's the intake
That's the intake
manifold,
right there.
and right below it is the exhaust.
Right. And those ports are right next to each other. Now, Ford put all of that into the block.
Made it part of the block. Yeah.
Yeah, and that actually took up, they gave up cooling.
Because
cylinder cooling because of that, and that's why those things did have
so sensitive,
really sensitive to temperature. So they had a tendency to overheat when you'd work.
Well, back in the day when they were running the races with these vehicles,
jalopy races.
Oh, back in the jalopy days, you're right. It was the Stovebolt against the Flathead, and that was the real thing.
And the Flathead sounded great. And
man, there was nothing like them.
And you could, they would hop them up and make them run pretty smart. But it's interesting to watch these things pull them down the straightaway.
Yep.
And it doesn't make any sense. They sound like a mad bumblebee.
Straight 8, Flathead 8, then of course the Forked 8.
Well, I know what I think, but I'm interested in what our viewers think.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments. We're going to fire this thing up and see if we can get you a listen.
There you go.
Everything runs on smoke, so don't let it out.
Yeah, you see where that is, the starter? It's down here. And this is how you do the 2-foot. That's how you do that.
Now, as you can tell, it don't sound nothing like a Forked 8. Might sound a little like your hot Japanese import.
I was thinking it sounds like the Hudson Hornet on the cars.
So believe it or not, this thing would make more horsepower than that. It's got a big old exhaust leak.
Yeah. Remember that manifold up underneath the intake? Yeah. Lock it up. And also right there.
I think the next step is to take it for a drive and see how they perform side by side.
Pair off on these two, the Ford and the Chevy.
Well, those are the ones that for years.
For the drag race, 8th mile.
Drag race?
Drag race.
This car wouldn't go fast enough for a drag race.
Want to see?
Well,
let's ask them. You guys want to see these two in a drag race? Place your bets.
Never can tell. Which one do you think is better?
Better? Overall.
Overall.
That sounds better, hands down.
That sounds the best, I know.
But if I had to hop one up, I'd go with this one.
Think that would be faster?
Well, that one's going to have better head flow. It's all about head flow.
Well, thanks for watching. We're going to run these two against each other, see what happens. It'll be the Chevy versus the Goat. And you place your bet. We'll see where it goes.
Which one are you driving?
Which one are you driving?
Well, I want to go the fastest, so I'm going to drive the Chevy.
Now he's talking like that.
I'm going with the Forked 8.
There we go. I'm going with the Stovebolt. I've been working on Chevys all my life, so I can't do the Ford.
Race for pinks. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. If you like that video, make sure to check out the GoBros YouTube channel where we have many more videos just like this. And if you want to see our newest adventures, make sure to click subscribe so you'll get notifications.